stars who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello and welcome.
Hello and welcome.
Hello and welcome. The Wow Report. I'm Fenton Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder. I'm here with my inestimable colleague, Tom Campbell. Ooh, yes.
Good day, Fenton. Good day.
Chief Creative Officer of World of Wonder. And James St. James.
Also inestimable,
incomparable,
bankrupt,
incomprehensible,
and morally bankrupt,
and literary sensation. So, and Blake, of course. Hi, Blake.
Hi.
So, you know what I thought we'd do this week? Instead of counting down the top 10 things that make us go,
wow,
I thought we'd change it up a little bit.
Why not?
Tom, this was your idea.
Well, it was. It's just the idea of the top 10 things we would take with us.
Yes.
If we were deserted on an island.
If we're shipwrecked. If somehow something were to go wrong.
Or stranded in the Hamptons. You know, that kind of thing. And we're breaking it down to one segment's movies, TVs.
Yes.
And one segment is books.
Yes.
And one segment is an album, a music album.
Yes.
And then
because there's going to be a record player on the and a DVR player and a DVD player.
I'm just letting you know what's available.
There will be devices. And also the big reveal will be which celebrity would we take with us.
Is this like a celebrity crush that we're taking with us, or just somebody we want to spend time with?
They could be living, they could be dead. Okay. I think John Cleese once wanted to take Michael Palin with him, as long as he was dead and stuffed, which I thought was kind of cute. Just friendly, witty
Isn't there a movie about that with the
Weekend with Bernie?
Swiss Army Man.
Swiss Army Man, one of the best movies of the last 20 years.
Weekend at Bernie's, you know the different cultural references.
And I thought I'd sprinkle in some facts about islands. If you haven't wanted at some point in your life to own your own private island, right?
It's a dream. So
I think it's a dream, but I think in reality it's a nightmare. D.H. Lawrence wrote a fabulous story, The Man Who Loved Islands, and he lived on an island and it was too big. Then he bought a smaller island, and in the end he was like sitting on an ice cube in the Atlantic.
Well, Stephen King wrote a story about being shipwrecked on an island where called Ladyfingers, where he had to slowly eat himself, and he had a box of heroin and a saw, and he would slowly chop off body parts and eat them.
And what was left? At
the very end, he was just like stumps, and he was just like he had gone mad from.
And I remember when the Brady Bunch went to Hawaii and things went crazy. Though again, cultural references very different.
Spiders.
Exactly.
Oh my God!
Tiki gods.
What was that Blue Lagoon film with Christopher Atkins and Brooke
Blue
Shields?
Lagoon.
Just masturbation material. Let's be honest.
I mean, Atkins
in a loincloth.
Hotter boy.
One of the first ding dongs lots of people saw.
One of the first ding dongs.
Yeah, because he was.
You
don't remember seeing
totally see his bits.
No, come on, you do not.
No, he's swimming in the water naked, and you see it.
Yeah.
And then there's a scene where you see him masturbating. I didn't know what masturbation was at the time. That was the first
Nor
time
did Brooke Shields, apparently.
I still don't know.
So here we're off and running. Here we go.
We're off on our right. We've been marooned, right?
Yes.
So we've had to swim for our lives. We've been washed up on the island. Tom.
Number 10.
Number 10, we're supposed to come up with this segment with our favorite TV show or movie to bring on a desert island. The one thing we could bring. Right. And it's very hard. And I have to kind of do a little thought process to get to my one, which is, first of all, James challenged me and Fenton, and he said, Tom, no Diana Ross, no Olivia Newton-John, which leaves me...
No, I said no Diana Ross and no Cher.
Oh, I can do Olivia Newton-John? Okay, no Cher. Because my favorite musical of all time is Grease, but I don't know if I have to bring it because I think I could just act it out the entire time.
Yeah, right. You know it back to front. There's no point in bringing it.
And then, I am stuck in a Turner Classic movie, just this haze every weekend. And while they show movies from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, I really love the late 40s, early 50s. And there's two movies, and I'm going to decide here in front of you.
Okay.
Because one of them is A Place in the Sun.
Really?
With Elizabeth Taylor.
And Montgomery Clift.
Yeah.
Is that a Tennessee Williams?
No. It's based on is it Theodore Dreiser? No.
It's a famous novel. It's about American privilege. Shelley Winters is in it. Elizabeth Taylor
Winters gets murdered, doesn't she?
Yes, she does. She's whiny. The great thing is, it's Montgomery Clift's character is like this blue collar guy who has distant relations to this really rich industrial family, and he finally gets a chance to go, and he gets a he falls in love with Elizabeth Taylor, who's the industrialist's exquisitely
daughter.
beautiful daughter, and at the same time he's kind of been dating Shelley Winters,
Who's a schlub.
who works in the factory.
Yeah,
and
she's a factory girl.
and
She's a working girl.
She's sweet, but she's a pain in the ass. And he finally has a chance of the good life and the summer house and the boats and Elizabeth Taylor, whose waist
embodies all of that,
is 4 inches. She's I'm going to go back and talk about how beautiful she is. And then he got Shelley Winters pregnant,
and he has to bump her off.
and he brings her out in a boat, and is he going to drown her? Is he not going to drown her? And by the end, what's brilliant about the movie is you're like, drown the bitch. You know what I mean? Like, don't you?
Yeah.
You kind of want it to happen. You feel horribly torn, but you're right in his.
Because Shelley Winters is everything he's trying to escape.
Yes.
Elizabeth Taylor is everything that he wants, and so you got to get rid of the thing that's standing in your way.
Well, what's the other movie? Like, what is this between? Because that sounds really traumatic.
It is traumatic, but it's sort of. I love trauma.
But it's sweeping and it's grand and it's something that you could watch over
and over again. Just to see Elizabeth Taylor at, I think, age 20, looking beautiful. There's a famous scene, because the whole movie is shot rather conventionally. And then I've made up my mind. This is the movie I'm bringing, by the way.
Already? The
Yes,
other one's been eliminated.
Is when they finally, because they sort of spot each other from afar, and they're at this dance, and he starts to dance with her, and they go into extreme close-up. You've seen this. It's also a print, and it's like half of Elizabeth Taylor's face, and it's like they're falling in love, and it's this intensity. The first time I saw it, I was like, the blood flowed through all of my veins, and she's like, tell mama everything. It's like this 20-year-old vixen saying, tell mama everything. And then she feels so stared at. So like her love is so pulsating, like, we have to get out of here. And they rush to a balcony and they confess their love to each other. It's the most intense. Have you not seen this movie?
I have not seen this movie.
Montgomery Clift, it is Montgomery before the accident.
Yes.
It is Montgomery at the height of his beauty. He's a pretty boy. And he's one of the Stanislavski, method actors of the time. He predates Brando in that a little bit. He's got those big anime eyes.
Yeah.
And he's gay, and we know he's gay, and he's a gay icon.
But he's wearing dungarees. It's like his early 50s, the big Cadillac convertibles. The other one I was going to say is All About Eve, but I choose A Place in the Sun to take with me on my deserted island life.
So, James, what have you chosen as your TV or movie?
Number 9.
This is one that really, really spoke to me when I was a young child. Actually, a teenager was the first time I saw it. Sweet Charity, 1969. It's
Shirley MacLaine.
Shirley MacLaine. It's Bob Fosse in his directorial debut. Bob Fosse is a choreographer mainly on Broadway. It's known for his stylistic excesses.
Jazz hands.
Big.
That's Fosse.
It's based on a Fellini movie called Nights in Cabiria about a whore with a heart of gold, and it's a prostitute looking for love on the streets of Rome. This is transformed into New York, 1969, the height of the 60s. Shirley MacLaine is a taxi dancer at a sleazy 10 cents a dance a dance hall in Times Square. She's vulnerable. She's trusting. She's both naive and world weary at the same time. The wigs, the music, the eyelashes, the fashion is so 60s. It's very 60s.
Yes, it's just tiny over the peak of 60s fabulousness. It's like gaudy 60s.
Yeah, bright
Yes.
gaudy. There's a lot of music in it.
Big earrings.
Yeah, she drifts from pillar to post. She goes from bad relationship to bad relationship to bad relationship. At the very end of the movie, she's broken down. That she's found this the love of her life. He leaves her at the altar, and she sort of wanders off. And at the very end, it says she lives hopefully ever after. And to me, the idea of this girl who went to New York with these big dreams to fall in love and make it, and she ends up being like a whore, and nothing ever good ever happens to her, but she never gives up hope. And that's sort of what I've sort of always based my life on.
It's kind of a design for living for you.
Yeah, it is.
And it's a musical.
It's a musical, and they, like, Hey Big Spender
Hey,
is in
big
it.
spender.
well, why didn't you say?
Yeah.
Like,
Spend some time with bum,
The rhythm of life is a powerful.
And is it Sammy Davis in the movie?
Sammy Davis is in it.
Oh, the
Ricardo
rhythm-
Montalban. There's some set
Oh,
scenes. in
Ricardo
it.
Montalban.
Yeah, there's some set scenes in it where she's at a nightclub, and it is every 60s nightclub. The fashions are
Yes.
so over the feathers, and everybody's posing with these long cigarette holders and these mini dresses, and there's some just gorgeous set pieces in
Yep.
it that are absolutely like you can watch over and over 100 times. The movie itself is sad and wonderful, and Shirley MacLaine has never been more heartbreaking and tragic and wonderful and beautiful, and I just love it.
I saw it on Broadway
Did you?
with
Christina
Applegate.
And the original Broadway production was Gwen Verdon.
Yes.
So-
and also, it was a bomb at the time. It was a huge, huge bomb, and Bob Fosse almost never got to direct again. Thank God he did, because he went on to do Cabaret. Was his next film.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Number 8.
I've been up all night trying to think about this.
This is supposed to be an easy show.
I know. First of all, I was thinking, well, if you're, I had an existential question. So I'm on the island, right? Am I there because I want to be there? Have I been like exiled there? Is this a happy place? Or
You are Napoleon. This is you. You've been exiled.
Yes,
Yes.
in luxury.
exiled? Because I think in a way, you see, it goes back to this idea that I think the idea of being on an island, it sounds amazing, but I think after the first day, it quickly becomes a nightmare,
yeah, of
unspeakable
course.
nightmare and torture. So then,
It's like this show.
given the fact that you are,
It sounds like a good idea. Sorry.
Who pissed in your cornflakes?
That
this
was a
morning?
joke.
Given the fact you're in existential hell, what are you gonna want to watch? And I couldn't watch either of those movies because they'd be too upsetting. So then I thought, well, maybe I should go with like The Crown, because it goes on forever and it's just so sort of
Okay.
okay. But
Rest of your
no,
life.
I passed over that, and I thought Batman and Robin, my favorite TV series
love
of all time,
Batman and Robin, the
like
60s
lots of
version.
That
And then-
sort of that dries out pretty quickly too, doesn't it?
well, exactly. And also, I thought you'd say, oh, you're going to pick this, you can't pick that. You thought you'd like,
Right,
So it's about 4 a.m. now, and I finally settled on Andy Warhol's Empire State.
no,
this-
you are.
I thought he
not.
couldn't do Andy Warhol or David Bowie.
That was a celebrity. You said the celebrity couldn't be Andy Warhol or David Bowie.
All right.
I thought that Empire State is like, what is it, 8 hours long? I haven't even ever seen it completely, so there's something to look forward
There
to.
might be a twist at the end or something you don't know about. What is the movie?
Nothing.
Explain to people. We don't all know
Andy-
Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol, famous 60s
Sure.
pop artist who wrote the book On the World in Which We Live Now,
Okay.
in many, many ways. Went after doing the Campbell's soup cans. I said, oh, you love it. After he did the soup cans and after he did the Coca-Cola bottles that made him world famous, he wanted to make movies. He decided to make movies. But he wasn't a filmmaker and he wasn't interested. He said, I made bad art. Now I'm going to make bad movies. And he delivered on that. He didn't believe in focus. He didn't believe in being able to hear what was going on. He didn't really believe in narrative, and he didn't believe in traditional
structure.
Yes, if you will. Yes. So
Beginning, middle,
what
end.
he
Much like
did
this show.
for Empire State was he pointed the camera at the Empire State Building, and I stand correct if I'm wrong, for 8 hours. That's all. That's all that happens. The camera never moves.
And you honestly believe that you can watch that over and
yes,
over again?
because I'm on a desert island. I am alone, and
But
I
you
do
can
not.
look at a coconut for 8 hours.
And I do not want to be reminded of all the things I'm missing, the human interaction, the human drama, so I can watch this film and feel nothing. And I can also project onto it all the things I might want to see in watching the Empire State.
But so much of Warhol really is endurance art. It really is. You
Honey,
have to. It's
you're on
just-
a desert island. That's endurance art.
All
You're
right.
going to be there for a long
Okay.
time.
Okay.
No,
All right.
no, keep going.
Far be it for me to argue what you want to bring with you.
Do you think he filmed for 8 hours or he just looped the thing?
He just looped the thing
because it's static, right?
No, he said he's never even watched it.
That's right. That's right. Actually, what he said was one of his theories was that actually it wasn't so much the film on the screen that was the work of art.
Yeah.
It was the audience's reaction to the film that was being projected that he was interested in, and that he thought that was the interesting thing.
Because to
the
me,
way people would like fall asleep, scream at the screens, storm out, demand their money back, things of that nature.
One of his more interesting ones of that era was the blowjob.
Well, of course, it's James St. James.
No. In which he put that camera on someone's face.
John
while they were
Giorno's
getting-
face.
Yeah, while they were getting a blowjob.
The receiver.
Yes.
So you don't see the blowjob, you just see the reaction.
Yeah,
Yes.
so you just watch the guy's face
So
as
it's
he
like
goes through
two
various-
girls, one cup, kind of.
Not
That you're
even
watching the
close.
reaction.
Yeah.
Because there's no receptacle.
Okay. See, there are two Andy Warhols to me because there's one who's incredibly accessible. The soup can, you just sort of, and when we saw that Warhol exhibit at MoMA a few years ago and his influences, it's just, it's amazing to me how evocative, and because I'm all about feeling, and it's like for some reason his art gives me great feelings.
It does.
But the idea of watching the Empire State Building gives me a feeling of dread.
I feel that rather than being conditioned to feel things by the movie that is programming you or trying to,
Yes.
it's in a movie, a story in a way is a kind of propaganda. It's
Yeah,
broadcasting at you,
yes,
manipulates
absolutely.
you. Exactly. The Empire State is just there, and then I can project onto it. All
So it's kind of a
my
meditation.
feelings.
I agree. I would look at the coconut and bring A Place in the Sun.
Now, I'll tell you something.
But you might want to escape the coconut and the palm tree. You might want to put yourself in the urban surroundings.
One of the biggest bombs Wall Presents has ever had was your idea, in which you decided to recreate his Sleep, another one of Warhol's, and we filmed different Ryan Serhant and everybody
did.
sleeping,
We
and
did.
not one
Huge
person
success.
watched it. Now, what you thought you
Were
were
they
gonna-
covered in blankets?
Yes, we just
That was the problem.
Well, and no offense to Ryan Serhant, but the original idea was to film Brad Pitt sleeping, which I think is a slightly different proposition.
I just think you should sleep on top of the covers. I am that kind of an old man horn dog. Sorry.
I don't understand why you all pick movies, because I would have picked a show that you could watch
Forever and ever and ever.
for like a long
Well,
time.
I was gonna do Buffy. I was
Like a
gonna do- I was
binge.
going to do all
What
7
would you
seasons
pick?
of Buffy.
Blake.
I was gonna pick like Will and Grace, or maybe the original 90210, just because.
But again, that's the same thing as Grease with him, where you know every episode and you could probably act them out. So you should probably get something that you haven't seen.
True, but that more. I was thinking like.
If I'm on the island with James, it's going to be very
James has a
bossy.
very strict rule.
I was thinking more like it could be Clueless, but that's the movie that I could act out.
Clueless, the TV series?
No, well, both.
Well, okay, we're going to take a quick break. We're allowed to take breaks on our desert island.
No, you aren't!
So I thought I'd ask you a question. Hey, well, here's the starter question. Very small islands can be called, what can you call a small island? Do you know?
Are you supposed to tell you now?
No, tell me now. Yeah. This is a starter question. This is a little amuse-bouche.
An islet.
Yes, well done. Yes, skerries, K's or keys. I thought that was interesting. Okay, so what's the biggest island in the world? You are listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy, and we're having a desert island experience. We'll be right back after this break.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
In a world on the brink of chaos, where fear is the rule of the land,
We will build the wall.
the voices of a generation have banded together. Bianca Del Rio, Adore Delbano, Valentina, Latrice Royale, and Detox, with the supermodel of the world, RuPaul, to give our planet what it needs. Baby drag queens.
Yeah, set phasers to stunning.
Ooh, snap.
Oh, maybe you're just not cut out to be a real queen.
The reading is what?
Fundamental.
What day are you supposed to be, cornball?
I'm a Doris Day.
That's not even.
Glitter powers activate.
My best friends in the entire world made this dress for me out of love and kindness and sisterhood. It's priceless and it's not for sale.
I'll give you $10,000.
Sold.
I'm still offended.
But give me a taco.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. We are stranded, marooned on a desert island. We've picked our favorite movie. We are now going to pick our favorite book. But before the break, I asked the question, because we're on a desert island, I thought we should talk about desert islands. What is the biggest island in the world?
Madagascar.
Australia.
No, it
Australia's
is
a
not
continent.
exactly. This one got me. It's Greenland.
That's not a continent.
And you ask, what is the difference? Well,
Mass.
continents sit on continental lithosphere, which is part of tectonic plates floating high on Earth's mantle. So, and islands are either extensions of the oceanic crust or geologically part of some continent sitting on continental lithosphere. If that makes any sense to you.
Listen, mister,
Okay.
I graduated high school. Do not take me back there again.
Okay. So, we're on the desert island, and what is the one book that we are allowed to take? Tom.
Number 7.
This is a hard one for a couple reasons. It's hard to pick one of anything. 2, I don't do that much reading, and people hate me. I've said that on the air before, and people have harangued me.
Really?
Yeah. I said, why read a book? Because if it's good, they're going to make a movie out of it. And people were like, how dare you? I'm like, come on, people, sense of humor. One thought was How to Survive a Tropical Desert Island, a primer for the shipwrecked sailor. That might be a good book to bring.
Useful.
okay.
Right? Available on Amazon for $4.99. But the one book that I'd really bring, which I don't know if I can talk about, but I'll mention briefly, and it's not my choice, it would be a book called Alcoholics Anonymous.
I think that's...
We're not supposed to talk about it.
Are you?
It's got everything you need. I need to survive. But I guess unless I could ferment coconut or something,
I
I
was
might be
going to
okay.
say, is there a temptation for alcohol on this island?
I don't know. I've never been
Wait
there.
a minute, you aren't bringing Alcoholics Anonymous. I see what you're bringing.
But I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the next best thing, which is Valley of the Dolls by Jacqueline Suzanne.
I
Now,
love the fact you brought visual aids. People at home, you can watch on the Wow Report. You can watch this.
I read this in the late 90s. Everyone knows the movie, and it's really campy. And if you watch it, now you should watch it. And it's really slow, but it's good. And it's sort of that same period as Sweet Charity. It has all that 60s glamour. But the book is
Sparkle, Neely, sparkle.
Yes, but the book takes place from the end of World War II up and through to the 60s. And supposedly Jacqueline Suzanne was once lovers with Ethel Merman. So the Susan Hayward character, Helen Lawson, is a homage to Ethel Merman. And it really is an insider look to being in New York when New York was kind of the center of showbiz in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And if I may, if you'll indulge me, I'm going to read just the foreword, which I love so much, and it tells you everything you need to know. So here I am in show business. Here I am trying to make it, right? And I'd be on this desert island with my Valley of the Dolls book, and I would read every morning when I got up. You've got to climb Mount Everest to reach... starting again. You've got to climb to the top of Mount Everest to reach the Valley of the Dolls. It's a brutal climb to reach that peak, which so few have seen. You've never knew what was really up there, but the last thing you expected to find was the Valley of the Dolls. You stand there, waiting for the rush of exhilaration you thought you'd feel, but it doesn't come. You're too far away to hear the applause and take your bows, and there's no place left to climb. You're alone, and the feeling of loneliness is overpowering. The air is so thin you can scarcely breathe. You've made it, and the world says you're a hero, but it was more fun at the bottom when you started, with nothing more than hope and the dream of fulfillment. All you saw was the top of that mountain. There was no one to tell you about the Valley of the Dolls. But it's different. I'm almost done. When you reach the summit, the elements have left you battered, deafened, sightless, and too weary to enjoy your victory. Ann Wells had never meant to start the climb, yet unwittingly she took her first step the day she looked around and said to herself, "This is not enough. I want something more." And when she met Lion Burke, it was too late to turn back.
That is like a Nico Tortorella poem. That is like it's like sort of in Kubla Khan did Xanadu, right?
I know, and only part of it is in the movie. It's sort of you have to climb Mount Everest to reach the Valley of the Dolls, and by Ann Wells.
That is the good bit.
It is the good bit, but it is so. Oh, I broke it. But it's so yummy, it's a lot smarter than you think, and it's one of the first,
Well, it's not smart. Let's be real.
Well,
it's tawdry, it's lurid, it's technicolor, it's fabulous beyond fabulous, but it ain't smart.
I think the way you say sometimes, like when we saw the Gatsby the movie, you're saying all we have is that we don't have the visual of those times, but with the Kardashians, we have a record of what it was like then, and Valley of the Dolls is a printed record of what it was like there by an eyewitness to the scene. It's pre-James St. James, New York, darling. You know what I'm saying?
No, don't get me wrong. I love it. I love every second of it. Yes.
I think I have trouble. I truly have trouble, which is for another show, between camp and smart. I think camp and all that, to me that's smart. I don't know.
No. Camp is smart.
Camp is knowing.
You see,
Camp is
we have to actually do a whole show about camp because I think Susan Sontag got it all wrong, and why she is regarded as the first and last word on camp just drives me potty.
Well, there's two different kinds of camp. There's the unknowing and there's the knowing.
Okay.
And Susan Sontag talks about the unknowing, where John Waters talks about the knowing.
Right, but
so
she was writing before there was even a sense of knowing. She actually possibly she brought knowingness to camp. She was part of the consciousness of camp. But anyway, this is not that. And we're on a desert island. And
Two
alone.
reviews from this. I couldn't believe these weren't real girls because I know them. Maddeningly sexy. I wish I'd written it, Helen Gurley Brown. And the last, magnetic. Suzanne's a natural storyteller. Valley's the kind of book that most of the readers can't put down. Nor Ephron. May she rest in
Of course,
peace.
I do want to say Truman Capote's review of that was that Jacqueline Suzanne is not a writer; she's a typer.
Like she just documented what went around her.
It's not, that's not writing, that's typing.
What a bitch. Well, because Andy
He
Warhol...
also said she was a truck driver in drag.
All the things I love most in this world.
Jane St. James, you're on an island. What's the book you take with you?
Number 6.
Well, you would think that you would take War and Peace or Christian Lavensdatter or something like that, which is, the 14th century trilogy about life in Norway, something like that, that you could read and it would take 10 years to get through and everything like that. But I found a book 20 years ago. I was in a used bookstore in Dallas, and I found this book called Gossip 1920 to 1970. Okay, and it's no, but once again, I'm getting the hairy eyeball from Fenton. I haven't even begun, and you're already poo-pooing my thing. You're gonna listen to me, goddammit. Okay, listen. So, Gossip, 1920 to 1970 is Daily Mail gossip columns. Okay, the Daily Mail, which is now a right-wing Republican rag pro-Trump, but it wasn't always. It's been around for 200 years in England. It's these gossip column items. And it's every single day from 1920 to 1970.
In that book?
In this book, yes.
Looks a bit thin.
But it isn't. But I'm telling you, that, it's
the print is very small.
The print is very small, and you see it's every single day.
Is that Nigel Dempster then? Wasn't he the gossip columnist for that?
No, that's Leland Howard.
Okay. No, the writer, darling.
No, Andrew Barrow. It's. Okay. I don't know who the gossip columnist was. So anyway, what happens with this book is, like I said, it's gossip column items every single day, every month of every year for 50 years, okay? And it starts in the 1920s, which is the Bright Young Things. It's Cecil Beaton, it's Nancy Mitford, it's all the all these fabulous people, and you get to know these people when they're young and everything. In the 1930s, it's the Prince of Wales set, and the Consuelo Vanderbilt and Wallace Simpson, all these people. The 40s and the 50s, everything goes along. And you start in the 1920s, you meet this woman like Brenda Paul Dean, who is an it girl, and you see her dancing naked in a fountain, and you hear all these stories of these scandals and everything like that. In the 1930s, she's sort of fallen out of fashion. Every once in a while, there'll be an item where she's married some guy.
Yeah.
In the 1940s, she's in and out of institutions. She's picked up for vagrancies. In the 1950s, she dies of a drug overdose. There's a woman like Mrs. Mayrick, who...
And it's just documented through the actual gossip columns.
There's
no No.
And it's literally it's
like clippings.
Yeah, no, it's a memorial service was held at St. Mark's Church for
cool.
The phenomenally wealthy Woolworth heiress Barbara Hutton was presented to the Queen, and a cruel rumor was circulated that the 18-year-old multimillionaire was rejected by New York's most eligible bachelors. You just get these tiny little clippets of things, but you have this woman like Mrs. Mayrick who operated a series of speakeasies in the 1920s.
Yep.
They kept getting raided, and she was always put in jail, but the Prince of Wales would come to her openings, so everybody would support her. And then later in the 1930s, in the 1940s, she dies penniless, but her daughters then marry into the nobility. And you see, you follow her daughters' then path, and they become duchesses. You see these women who were bright young things in the 20s, and then in the 60s, they're the decrepit old duchesses dripping in jewels who are now the establishment. And you follow these people on their inevitable march towards death.
Oh, God.
And you see them as young children and then as old duchesses, and you live with them every single year of their lives. And I just feel like it's this web of people that you get sucked into, and it's like a soap opera that of people you don't know, but you grow to love.
It's genius.
How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes you it makes you think that like we're always, no matter what, in the middle of our lives. We're always in the middle of the ride, you know.
Right.
And
The Middle of Our Lives, a film starring James St. James.
Yes,
right?
But it is. It's all like you think that like no matter what, there's always another act, and there's always another act. And
My version of this is when I watch Turner Classic Movies and you see some beautiful, impeccable Hollywood person, and you go on Wikipedia and they've passed away, obviously, and you read about all their lives and divorces and children. And
But isn't that depressing? It's like this sort of march
It's a
towards
cycle of
death.
life.
You know, like,
I think it's
okay.
beautiful.
Like when you watch Turner
Okay.
Classic Movies, you're always inevitably every time you see an old Betty Davis movie from the 30s,
Yes.
you're always shocked because you know what she turns
Yes.
into. You know, and it's that feeling like when you meet these people as young children, and then you just go through their entire lives.
But that's a brilliant way of doing it. It's even clever, but it's sort of like the Andy Warhol Diaries in a different way.
I thought you would have picked that. That's what I would have predicted
that was one
you
of them
for.
that I was gonna do.
He said I couldn't talk about Diana Ross or Cher. I said James couldn't mention anything that he's mentioned in. So you can't do anything he's written or mentioned in.
I am
was my drill.
because I'll tell you something. I think I've told you that I think that I'm the reincarnation of this woman, Lady Diana Cooper, who was a big socialite between the wars, and so
I believe it. Is Twiggy mentioned? Does it get to Twiggy by the end in the
I think
60s?
the swinging 60s start to happen, and you have that dichotomy of the old school meeting the new fashion.
Did Lady Diane Cooper ever dress as a big chicken?
Perhaps.
Yes.
More to be revealed.
Number 5.
My pick for a book to take with me on a desert island, the complete works of William Shakespeare.
Oh.
I mean,
Hard to read.
No. I'll tell you really? I read the works of William Shakespeare. I did this in my 20s.
God.
No, I did in my 20s.
This morning.
No. I read the Bible and then Shakespeare and
That's cool.
And,
in the woods, when you were in the woods?
and Dostoevsky.
When you were in Michigan in the woods?
Yes.
You
this was in
read
Michigan. This
the
was in Michigan.
entire Bible?
I read the entire Bible from start to finish, so that I knew whereof people spoke when people came to me about it. But the thing about Shakespeare that I learned is that when you're reading Shakespeare, you have to read it out loud.
Yes.
You can't just sit there and look at it. You have to. It has to flow from your lips, and then it makes sense.
And I mean, he's written many famous plays, King Lear, he's all the famous ones. Everybody knows all the famous ones. My favorite Shakespeare plays are the not the romances, what are they called? The magic ones. The Tempest,
Yes,
Winter's Tale,
Midsummer's Night's Dream.
Yes. I probably told you before that I played Titania in
not
my school
know
production
that.
of Midsummer Night's Dream.
It all comes together.
Titania
now.
is the queen.
Lights go on. It all makes sense.
Titania is the queen of the fairies, for those who don't know. As an all-boys boarding school, it was a good number to work, I have to tell you.
You got laid afterwards?
A little bit, maybe. A little bit. And I had these gorgeous wings. RuPaul has those supermodel wings.
Yeah.
I had those before she did.
What a rip-off.
I love Shakespeare. I mean, because really, basically, his plays and the sonnets to his gay lover.
It's everything in
Everything.
pop culture.
Yeah,
That in the Bible is everything. You need to know.
everything.
Hold
Yeah.
everything. William Shakespeare's sonnets to his gay lover?
Yes. Oh, yes. He was in
No,
love
they were
with
the Dark Lady. They weren't.
the Dark Lady is a guy.
Oh,
James St.
that is
James.
such projection.
It-
I
oh.
have never in my life.
I wouldn't have thought you would want to be one of these scholars. who
You're on the
doesn't-
wrong side of history, James St.
Yes. Shame on you.
James. Where did this theory come from?
Well, that's a very pertinent question. I don't know.
That's
Someone wrote it, and when
Randy
you read,
started it, and you're repeating it.
when you read the sonnets, when you read the sonnets with that key, if you will, they all make complete sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Good to know. Good to
And
know.
the great thing about sonnets is they're only 14 lines long, Tom. So
I'm in.
a quick read.
I'm in.
And
Slightly
some-
longer
I
than a
mean,
tweet.
They're very blood. Some of the plays are very bloody. Some of them are very.
yes.
There's
What's
Titus
the one? What's the
Andronicus
one?
and- Sibylline and
Cymbeline.
Cymbeline,
Is
yeah.
it Cymbeline? Yeah. They are fantastic. I mean, I think sort of part of the problem is that sort of, as you say, it's what they weren't rhyming couplets. What are they written in? Free iambic pentameters.
Yeah.
Every time you see a Shakespeare play, actors are being all actory and sort of fon.
It is conversational. It really is.
It needs to be. And that's why I thought, when Baz Luhrmann did Romeo and Juliet, it's the text of Romeo and Juliet, but just delivered in such a non-Shakespeare-y way. It's
Maybe
not-
in the future we should count down the top 10 William
do
Shakespeare
that.
sonnets that made us go,
or make us go, get thee to... I'll tell you something, actually. Supposedly the word drag comes from Shakespeare, because it would be enter in drag or exit in drag, which dressed as a girl.
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Supposedly. I think it's an urban
This is how
myth.
I've skirted.
Exit chased by a bear.
Yes.
This is how I've skirted.
Exeunt.
This is how I've skirted intellectualism my entire life. In high school, we read Romeo and Juliet, Julius Caesar, and one of the things every year, a rite of passage was in ninth grade. You had to make a Globe Theater. That's how Mrs. Balduke would get them. So, but I made mine. I had my partner Lisa, and we made a Globe Theater costume where it was sheets.
Look at you.
Felt. So we made big shoes out of boxes. That was the stage. Then she had a neck piece that was the thing with collars. Yes, and she had.
Yes.
And we put roofs on the tops of the thing.
I'm seeing a Drag Race challenge. No wonder. It all makes sense
It
now.
all makes sense. It all comes back to Drag Race. But that was my way of. I also did. We read the Greek mythology, and I created a '50s doo-wop group that sang about Jason and the Argonauts, and we were so good. We were brought from class to class.
Oh my God. That's fabulous. The
Let
Golden
me
Fleece.
tell you all the less about some guys cross the ocean looking for a golden fleece that was really hot. They were Jason and the Argonauts.
Stop. We have to go and film this right now.
Yeah.
This is another Drag Race rusical. Fantastic. All right. We got to take a break. So on the books thing, okay, because I was going to say Robinson Crusoe. I've never read it. William Dafoe. It's the ultimate desert island narrative, right?
Yeah. Swiss Family Robinson.
I didn't realize that Robinson Crusoe is true, right?
Yeah.
Written in 1719, based on Alexander Selkirk, who was rescued in 1709, a Scottish sailor who spent 4 years on the uninhabited Juan Fernandez Islands.
It makes you wonder if, are people still stranded on desert island? Is there somebody on a desert island right now?
If you're listening to us stranded on a desert island,
Wave.
call me.
Send me an email.
Tweet me at.
Just like, so listen,
Hashtag I'm stranded.
here's the question. Blake came up with this brilliant
Okay,
question.
good.
What is the longest someone has ever been abandoned or, what is the word?
Stranded.
Lived on.
Stranded.
Thank you, stranded on a desert island. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy, SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Hi, my little fruits. I feel fruity. Yeah. Fruitcake, banana split, strawberry lemonade, blueberry pancakes, and a chocolate-covered pea. Hey, don't forget about me. Don't forget about me. Or me. Yeehaw!
Welcome back to the Wow Report, Radio Andy. We are having a special Desert Island edition. We're marooned. We're picking our favorite books, movies, films, things of that nature. Before the break, the question was, What is the longest someone has ever been marooned or stranded on a desert island?
Well, obviously Gilligan was stranded he's still there.
He's in syndication.
In real life.
I'm going to say 25 years.
I'm going to go more because I feel like it's a World War II, someone hidden in the so I'm going to say 43 years.
Huh. I suppose I'll just go with 13. Amelia Earhart, because she died, right? She landed on an island.
I saw her walk by the window the other day.
Just now.
She's
getting her star on the boulevard today.
She just found her makeup recently on an island, and they think that maybe she was eaten by cannibals or something.
Mm-hmm.
What's the answer, Blake?
The answer is 30 years.
Oh. That makes you the winner.
And who was it?
His name was Fernando Lopez, and it was on St. Helena.
Well, isn't that where Napoleon was?
Were there any
as perhaps best known where Napoleon was banished? Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, blow me down.
Fascinating story.
So we're back on the island. Tom, you're alone. You are allowed to take one album with you.
Yep. Number 4.
Well, if James wasn't on this show, the album I'd be taking would be the Supremes Anthology. Because nothing like the Supremes, which I didn't really find until like my senior year in high school, and it was like the early 80s and there was movies in the 60s, it still is like a mantra to me. It's like the first song it's a 3-album set, from the first song to the last song. I know every word, every breath. I can hit the key of the next song that's coming up. I know it. I used to mop floors as part of my job that summer, and I would just listen. I could do anything listening to the Supremes Anthology. I could climb any mountain, do anything. But because of James's rule, I can't bring it. So the other album, which I have been currently obsessed with, that I got, in music, it's all about feels for me, and I love music up to this date. Actually, as I've told you guys before, I love Ariana Grande. If I were to bring a contemporary album, I would bring something from Ariana Grande because I feel like she gives me the full spectrum of feeling on an album, from crying to laughing to dancing. But in 1977, I got for Christmas Simple Dreams by Linda Ronstadt. Oh. And Linda Ronstadt, I don't talk about her a lot, but like every day in the shower, I sing a Linda Ronstadt song. What? Yes. Which is not from this album, but I sing It Doesn't Matter Anymore, because there's something, I think, not to joke about depression, but I think I was a slightly depressive child. And I think I finally had a therapist explain to me that there's a kind of depression where you stay ahead of it, like it's a wave following you, so you're like running. And he said that to me. I'm like, yeah, my whole life is about being extroverted and staying away from the darkness. But when, and you're a little gay boy and you have all these secrets and you're going to burn in hell, at the time, that's what the logic said.
Or go to prison.
I found Linda Ronstadt, who sort of sings, as I realized as an adult, she sings about depression. Blue Bayou is on this album. Boom, boom. But she makes it beautiful. And somehow I was being heard, or I was able to sing along and express. Plus, she has one of the most beautiful voices of all time. And in 1977, not that it should matter, but she was hot. She was on the cover of Time magazine. She wore bikini. There was pictures of her like in a string bikini making chili in Malibu with her little 5 series. She was just perfection. And on this album, she emerged in 74 as a huge star, and then she sort of people would pick on her because she didn't write her songs. Who cares? She's like the Ella Fitzgerald of our generation in my mind, because she can interpret so many songs. But Blue Bayou, which was a what's that guy who sang that? Ray Orbison song. She also, Warren Zevon, who was a new songwriter, she sings Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me, which I love. And It's So Easy to Fall in Love, which is a Buddy Holly song.
It's so easy to fall in love.
Oh, it's just so great. And she also covers a Rolling Stones song on this album called Tumblin' Dice. People try to rate me, always think I'm crazy, make me burn the candle right down. And it also has, as a precursor to the trio albums, which were with Dolly Parton and Emmylou Harris, she sings a duet called I'll Never Will Marry, which is like an old country song from a long time ago that she does as a duet with Dolly Parton that's exquisite. And then there's this bizarre song called, what's it called? Wait. It's called Maybe He's Right. There's just always these defeated, I love when a song captures either the lust or that moment you fall in love or the moment you're so brokenhearted that you eventually do recover in real life, but and maybe he's right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe what he's saying is the way it should be. Somebody tried to explain it to me, but they couldn't tell me if he's happy. I mean, just like the word happy.
You have such a beautiful voice. Like, fuck, you can
all
sing.
the time.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it's true. You can sing.
But there's a whole bridge, and it's just her going, wah, ha, ha. It's just this expansive orchestration.
And you sing that
and
and
just,
sob in the shower. Go say, why do I have to go to work today? Why am I still alive?
So it's a beautiful album. It's at the peak of Linda Ronstadt, who, you know, has Parkinson's right now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so she's no longer can sing. We live in a world where Linda Ronstadt can't sing. And she introduced me to Motown before I knew about Motown with like Tracks of My Tears. And anyway, it's very personal and weird. But it's like there's something about, for me, that depression thing, which sounds weird, but it sort of feels like as an artist, it heard me. She heard me. She had feelings that I wasn't alone. I know it sounds crazy.
But when you hear it, you feel better, right? It doesn't make you feel worse.
I don't feel alone. No, and
right.
I feel like
freed from the depression.
Yes, and there's also such beauty in her voice that it just makes it all
Well, I think
spiritual.
that it's so interesting because I think she's been one of those artists who's been sort of forgotten in the rush of time.
Yeah.
I think that people don't realize what an impact she had in the 70s because she doesn't resonate today. Maybe or I don't know.
Or she hasn't been pushing it hard. She hasn't been trying to keep her legacy going.
Yeah.
She's trying to pay her bills and trying to stay healthy. But Blue Bayou by itself, just the way it's, it starts off low and then I'm going back someday. Just like it cleanses the palate of your brain.
Fantastic.
Your
Linda
spirit.
Ronstadt.
Simple
Blue
Dreams.
Bayou, Tom Campbell. Okay, James St. James, what is your record that you are taking with you?
Number 3.
I'm taking with me the soundtrack to.
Are you on it?
No.
Okay.
To Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. Okay.
Oh.
Cinderella was a TV show.
Yes.
It was a TV movie
In the 60s.
In this actually it was 1957. It was broadcast live March 31st, 1957. It was Julie Andrews. It was the first time America had ever been introduced to Julie Andrews. She was on Broadway at the time in My Fair Lady, and they decided they wanted to introduce her to a larger audience, and so Rodgers and Hammerstein wrote a musical for television based on the Cinderella tale, and it was watched by more than 100 million people. It was it's the Cinderella story, which is we all know a million times and everything, but it's the songs. My own little corner in my own little chair. I can be whoever I want to be. Da, da, da. If there's ever a song that encapsulates my life that I would ever if I had a theme song that followed me wherever I would go, it would be the Gavotte for just the dance sequence number where they're all in the dancing and she dances with them for the first time and she's in the dress and everything like that. There's also they remade it in 1965, which is the version you probably remember.
That's the one with Leslie Ann Warren.
Leslie Ann Warren and Stuart Damon, who went on to play Alan Quartermain on
That's gonna make me cry.
on General Hospital.
Awesome.
There was also a version in 1997 with Brandy and Whitney Houston.
God
Whitney
rest
Houston
Whitney's
was
soul.
the thing. You were bored again. I can't every time I say something.
Focus here. Focus
I
here.
look over and Fenton is
He was dressed as a.
Can he just finish already? You used to talk about me having resting bitch face, looking at you with hate. All you do is look at me like these are the most boring.
I look at you with the eyes of love.
No,
I would say that Fenton is active. bitch face.
You know,
I don't think it's resting.
The thing about Rodgers and Hammerstein is
I love them.
Yeah, they really are. I love them. I love them. Oh, James, great choice. The thing about Rodgers and Hammerstein.
I was going to say, what about South Pacific?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They do the top 20. They do the pop. They are the pop of Broadway. They are Sound of Music. They are South Pacific. They are Oklahoma. They are.
Is Carousel theirs?
Yeah, Carousel, King and I.
They are everything.
You know,
King and I.
They're the Madonna of Broadway.
Oklahoma, which redefined everything.
Exactly. And so I'm sorry that you don't enjoy Cinderella, that you were the one person on the planet who is so heartless that they don't like a good fairy tale with a pop score. I can't help it. That's who I fucking choose.
I think maybe we should spend some time on a deserted island, each of us alone, after the show.
I don't know
just
who
to
would survive.
think about.
The three of us.
Let me guess. What are you going to do? You're going to
Okay.
bring a John Cale where he just pounds one note over and over again? Is that what you're going to do? Is that your...
That's a good idea, though. The John Cage,
John Cage,
where's
yes,
the Silent Symphony or whatever it is.
Number 2.
Well, actually, James, no, I was going to do ELO's greatest hits, but then I thought ELO's greatest hits is kind of cheating, number one. And then I thought, okay, so I'll do Beethoven's symphonies.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't really know.
Where, would you put those on top of your Shakespeare, or would you put them
Yes,
on
I
the
know
bottom?
it's like so unpop, but you see, I think you're on a desert island. You need something that's going to sort of
feed your soul.
I just worry that any contemporary or modernist thing, you're just going to get sick of it. You know, that's what I worry
had an
about.
album of opera music.
Yeah.
It was like a four volume, and it was opera's greatest
Time
hits.
Life.
It was one of those, but it was like an introduction to opera, arias and everything like that. And I agree with you. I think that maybe I would go with Bach because Bach has a larger breadth of he does like he goes from chamber
and there
music
is
to
true
organ.
happy. I mean, Beethoven's slightly on the dark side. I mean, Beethoven's Fifth is obviously the most famous 8 notes in all of music. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
Right, there's that one, which is not so great. The Pastoral one, which is the 6th, is used in this amazing, one of my favorite movies of all time, Soylent Green. One of my favorite scenes in my favorite movie of all time is when what's his name? The old guy goes off to the euthanasia center, and life is so grim. Right, if it's not life is,
Edward G. Robinson.
Thank you. Yes, life is so grim that you go to the euthanasia center. They give you a lovely glass of wine, and then you lie there under a sheet, and they project beautiful scenes of nature, tulips,
because
daffodils.
it's a post-apocalyptic society. Nobody's ever seen nature.
The
This
world
is
is
the first
destroyed.
time you ever see a flower. You ever see the ocean.
And they play Beethoven's 6.
And it's so
And
beautiful.
then you're turned into meat,
Well,
into
then
food.
you die.
You're dying.
They kill you. As you die, you finally get to see what nature looks like.
You get to see the beauty of the
You
world.
see the beauty of the world. You see the beauty of the orchestral music.
And it's so, I mean, I just watched the scene the other night. It just makes me cry every time. And it is so
fantastic
shocking. And then, yes, Tom, indeed, they take your body and they turn it into food.
But one of the other great scenes in that
Yum,
is
yum, yum.
the first time that he has meat and vegetables. Remember?
Yes.
They're
My
they're
God.
at a dinner, and they finally get to see.
You see a steak.
Yeah, they have a steak and like a turnip or something like that, and he eats it, and you just see them like crying as they realize what life was like.
Charlton
before.
Heston.
Yeah,
Yes.
Charlton
This
Heston.
is some amazing movies.
This is
Planet of the Apes, Omega Man, and Soylent Green. He did bang one after the other.
He had a moment before he went nuts.
They really were fantastic.
Back to Beethoven and his symphonies. The 7th. The second movement of the 7th is the most haunting. It was used in the King's Speech. When the King finally gets together and gives this amazing speech about war and all right, we're going to war and everything. I didn't know this, but when it was first performed in 1813, the audience was so enraptured by this second movement that they stopped the show and made them play it again. Which, is not what you go to as a concert, and everyone's very polite and fun.
Right.
And here they stopped it mid, and it's impossible to describe. It is haunting. It is, I don't know, it's the essence of something, and it's very super duper powerful. So and then I was going to take, just to appease you, James, the Voyager album, the one that's out in space with the sounds of Earth and whales, and there's no real music on it. It's just the sort of, because I think if you're stuck on a desert island, you need the music to be able to take you somewhere.
Yes, yeah.
And much as I'd like to take Britney Spears, I just think there'd be a point where I wouldn't want to listen to it anymore. And I don't want that to ever happen.
Not with you and Brittany.
No.
And when Prokiev's Rites of Spring, when they played that the first time, the audience
Went on a riot, yeah.
Yeah, and they tore the place down. What?
When they play Britney?
The Rite of Spring, sweetie.
Give me more. MTV Video Music Awards.
See, I was going to say I'd bring like a mix CD.
Oh, yeah.
Rule breaker.
Maybe even an MP3 so I could fit more songs on it.
Yeah, well, maybe you should bring Spotify.
Yeah.
Pandora.
Right.
Box?
I bring a flare. If we're breaking the rules, I bring a rescue flare.
And I can also share that the most requested, there's a show in England, a radio show called Desert Island Discs.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's this format, basically. And it's been running since 1942.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, when I was just in England,
And,
I listened to Radio X.
And?
It changed my life. I
it?
downloaded it. It's a radio station in the UK, and it's fantastic.
What does it play?
I thought you knew about this.
I don't know. I'm hoping.
He hasn't lived there for years.
Radio 1. I grew up with Radio 1 and Capital Radio.
Maybe I'm making this up. We can cut all this out.
Okay, we have to take a quick break. The question is, name as many celebrities as you can who own their own private island. You're listening to Wow Report Radio and SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Oh, do you want to know what's in the box?
WOW presents World of Drag, our first subscription box.
The producers of Drag Race have hunted down the most sickening items from around the world. Subscribe today and you'll receive a different curated box 4 times a year. I wonder what's in this one.
I want to know what's in the box. It sounds dangerous.
Oh my God.
First and foremost is the most important thing in this box. It's my book.
Ooh, it's the Purse Person makeup bag.
Just put your toothbrush, put your butt plugs, and toothpaste.
I wonder what else was in the box.
Oh, we've got a little travel tag. That's super cute. Next, I see Sasha Velour playing cards. This is the Unicorn Pool Float. Isn't she gorgeous? We've got our World of Wonder Nuts to Soup. Aww, squirrel friend.
What's in here?
This one right here is the Drag Tot pin. You never know which one you're gonna get. There's 5 of them to collect. Like Pokemon, you gotta catch them all. That's not it. World of Wonder Art Collection Series. Oh, this is gorgeous. And you get all of that in the first World of Drag box.
Sign up now.
Subscribe now at worldofdrag.com and get ready for some fun delivered right to your door.
World of Drag.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I thought it would be fun since we're all marooned on desert islands and we've been taking our favorite books, our favorite albums, our favorite movies. And now we're going to reveal who our favorite celebrities, because we can take one celebrity with us, which, I don't know, seems a bit self-defeating of the format. But anyway, what celebrities own their own private islands? Do you know?
Well, Johnny Depp.
Yes.
Mel Gibson.
Yes.
Richard Branson.
Yes.
Queen
Kenny Chesney.
Princess Margaret.
Marlon Brando.
Yes.
Shakira and Roger Waters.
Yes. Which is an unusual. They
own it together.
Yeah. Roger Waters from Pink Floyd, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm good.
Eddie Murphy. Just throw that out there.
I didn't know that.
David Copperfield.
Nick Cage.
Hey, you know who my favorite magician is, James? David Copperfield.
Ew.
That's what George Bush
Me
says.
too.
That's what
Me
George
too.
Bush says when he feels up girls. The senior.
You just filled me up. Anyway, look, so what is the end? I'm going to say 14.
Well, no, I mean there's a lot. So there, it's just a fun thing.
It's an endless question.
Yes, it is.
Endless
Ricky Martin. So
Ricky
okay,
Martin.
but that perfectly sets up the next round of this fascinating, exciting, tantalizing show. Here with Tom and James and Blake. We're on an island. We all hate each other. Thank God we're on our own private islands.
Yes, I can't wait.
What celebrity? Who are we taking with us? Tom.
Number 1.
Give you my thought process because it's 3, 2, 1, and it is the one. First person that popped into my mind, who's one of my favorite people of all time. In the 70s, I made a list of my top 10 favorite people, and Lily Tomlin was number 1.
Oh.
I just loved Lily Tomlin, member from Saturday Night Live, and she was so cool. And I just think she's been on Drag Race. I just think Lily Tomlin would be a hoot to have around.
Of course, she doesn't write her own material, so we don't know if she'd be fun.
Right, so maybe Jane Wagner.
Jane
I bring
Wagner.
Jane Wagner, and I could become Lily Tomlin. I also worry, and I'm not being mean, that Jane's a little up there, and Lily is a little up there in age, and she might die, and I'd have to eat her. I wouldn't want to do that, so I took her off the list. So then, my favorite singer, oddly, is not Diana Ross or Linda. I know it would be Gladys Knight.
Oh.
If I could just have Gladys, if I could have one singer get this close to my face
They're there
and
to
sing to
perform
me
for you? Is that what they are?
I'm just thinking of the things they could do. Is that if I was just sitting with Gladys and we were singing Linda Ronstadt songs together, I'd be the happiest. Something about Gladys Knight's voice.
But can Gladys Knight chop wood and start fires?
I'm going for entertainment.
Okay.
Okay? And it would be Gladys Knight. But then again, Gladys up there, I don't know what's happening. And then I thought, what am I really going to want to do on this island where I'm there the whole time?
Fuck.
And so I'm going into my grab bag of famous porn stars, and I'm picking out someone I've never met, who I've spent a lot of time with.
Banks.
Like him, Adam Killian.
I don't know who that is.
He's a Michael Lucas model. He does a lot of things. He's probably 40. He's got kind of a tribal tattoo on the side of his leg, on half of his butt. He seems very versatile. A lot of times
be a lot of fun.
We cycle through the porn stars we're interested in because we have such a plethora available to us visually online. And I find that when in doubt, I go back to Adam Killian. He's a little pumped. His lips. He's a little fake looking, which will eventually.
Michael Lucas.
Blake is.
I don't mind it.
Blake
I don't
is
mind it at
endorsing
all.
him too.
Oh
yeah,
he's saying he's wrapping up, and he's. What does this mean today? So I'm bringing classy Tom for all my friends listening. I'm bringing a porn star. I'm bringing Adam Killian on an island with me. He also looks really good naked. Okay.
James, who would you bring? Who would be your celebrity to be?
Well, you would think that the idea is that you're going to bring somebody. I was thinking I was going to go with hot guys, and I was going to go with like Ryan Gosling, who's sort of quiet and isn't going to get on my nerves, and he can probably start a fire and chop down a tree. But then I thought to myself, no, I'm just going to go with someone who is fun, who is going to be bitchy and just going to be. I'm going to go.
I can't go, James.
That's for me.
I'm going with Truman Capote, who will probably be a nightmare and will probably stab me in the back a million times.
Oh, you'll kill each other.
We'll kill each other, but he will regale me with story after story, and he will never run out of stories to tell me. And I think sitting by a campfire every night, he will spin a tale that will keep me fascinated year after year after year. And I was also thinking like Diana Vreeland, Andre Leon Talley, like those types of people who are just who will just chat and who would just chatter and never stop for a minute.
I'm just worried about Truman Capote without any booze. That's my only concern for you.
Oh, who says we don't have? We have booze, we have Coke, we have everything on the
then you're perfect.
Well, that's not a desert island, is it? It's a drug den of iniquity. So, James, who do you think I would take with me?
Well, obviously, you're going to take Mark Almond or David Bowie or Andy Warhol.
No, sweetie.
No.
I would take you.
What? You would never.
Suck up.
Just joking.
I knew it.
Oh, that hurts.
She's so mad.
It hurts. He wasn't always like this.
Look, there's only one person I could take. Dick. William Shakespeare. I'm going to take William Shakespeare, and I'm going to make him explain all his plays. I'm going to make him tell me who he's in love with in the sonnets.
Does he speak in 21st century talk?
He can speak in any language he wants, as far as I'm concerned. I just think you'd never run out of things to talk about. I mean, unless he was non-verbal in a sort of Andy Warhol type way, but...
Oh my God, I'm going to have so much more fun on my island with reading Valley of the Dolls off the butt crack of Adam Killian.
Shakespeare.
After we've made mad, passionate love.
Shakespeare was hot. I know all the pictures he's like balding, but you know he was a young. Have you seen Young Will? And there's little plays and things about him as a young. He was a young hottie. I'd take the young Shakespeare maybe.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I've inspected my person very closely.
I think I would take Liev Schreiber for the reason that you would take Adam Killian.
Oh, okay.
But
honestly, the hottest guy you can think of in the planet is Liev Schreiber.
He's daddy.
Why do you shame people for their preferences?
That's right. Look at you.
You too.
Oh my God, this is just James bashing today. What is going on?
Well,
it makes me feel better about myself.
I'll do anything. Get it? I'll do anything for you. I'll
do.
Okay,
anything.
so I know the show has taken a toll. That's all we have time for today. Look, Wow Presents Plus, our amazing streaming network. If you're on a desert island, that's what you want, actually. Hey, also coming on our Summer Sickening series on Wow Presents Plus, we are revealing Drag Tots, our first animated series starring the voices of Detox, Bianca, Latrice, Valentina, and, of course, RuPaul herself. As baby drag queens.
They say it's maybe the best thing that World of Wonder has ever made. Drag Tots.
Undoubtedly.
Without an ounce of exaggeration or irony.
And our first scripted series on Wow Presents Plus, Different for Girls, which is a steamy lesbian romp. Jackie Lawrence, who Wow Celebrity, she dubs it the real lesbian housewives of West London. I've seen it. It's steamy. It's disgusting. You can't stop watching it.
Disgusting,
well,
I'm in.
Disgusting in the best possible way.
Understand.
Yes. So that's only $3.99 a month on Wow Presents Plus, our streaming network. Same time, same place next week.
I love you, Jeff. Okay. Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. James A isn't feeling that well, and he's really angry, so he has a lot of reasons not to come back next week. Is all I'm saying.
Are you trying to get rid of me?
No, I'm trying to support you in the most passive-aggressive way possible.
Yes.
And I really would want you on a desert island with me, James. Really, cross my heart and hope to die. That's the truth.
I love you.
I can think of no one more entertaining.
How great that you two get along now.
So, same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go
wow!